Right. So welcome to everybody. This is a beautiful group, and it's also welcome to the people who are watching the recording later. We're really excited to keep doing this because the richness in the module is really worth going over and using it. And in this group, it's about coaches and coaching others who are stuck in the machine. And it's bringing back remembrance of what is regenerative, what's regenerative leadership, how do we integrate that into the machine, which is the corporate, which is modern society. And we notice that there is a lot of women in this group, and because that feminine energy allows for regenerative, but it doesn't exclude the masculine. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So, yeah, Sylvia and I are excited to have you joining. I will be starting, and then Sylvia will be continuing. Then I will continue, and Sylvia will be closing. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them. And we'll be helping each other with because while you're presenting, you can't see the questions, and vice versa. And I'm going to invite you now to just be present in the space. So I invite you to get comfortable. You can close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes. But I'm going to invite you to put your hand on your chest. As you put your hand on your chest, be aware of the weight. Be aware of your breathing. Be able to feel your heart. It is unseen, but it is very present. It allows life to flow. It allows the blood to flow. Being aware that there is iron in the blood and we are affected by the energies around us. Take deep breaths. Welcoming the air. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, welcoming the energy of spring. For those in the Southern Hemisphere, welcoming the cold that is bringing the winter, the deepening. Be aware of the chair where you're sitting, your seat, your feet being grounded. That we connected to a planet. We are held by gravity. Be aware of the sounds around you. You're interconnected to space and time. And we're interconnected through this call. So I invite you to take 3 deep breaths and re-enter into the space. Welcome. I'm going to get back into the PowerPoint. I'm going to start sharing it. Can we all see that? Right. So just a reminder that we've all done this course and we're coming together to just reconnect with the different parts of it. We are using the Regenerative Leadership Journey course and the book that Lara and Giles Hutchins have both. Many of you will remember this part on the slide. And you will see we talked about the inner and the outer, the masculine, the feminine. That is what we're going to be looking today. We're looking at the separation. We're continuing the story of separation that we started with the last one. and how society, how those in power have tried to solidify that power and created a destructive narrative of who we are as human beings within a world uh, that has many sentient beings. And we're looking at this not just as uh, from a particular viewpoint, but rather as a physical, spiritual, intellectual, whole body space of what we have lost and what we are looking at gaining, and the people around us who have lost this and what they are gaining from that. So I'm going to now pass it on to Sylvia to continue.
Thank you, Colleen, and welcome everybody. So in reviewing the course, we really realize that, especially from a coaching point of view, this is a core part of what coaches do. So looking at the separation, and I think the way it's so clearly expressed from in the slide and in the course really help us navigating and helping our coachees, our clients to navigate some of the challenges we're facing. And if we can have a look at the next one, Colleen. So the level of separation, the out of this, all this history we've been reviewing, expresses itself in these four, if you wish, are polarities, because separation is also having two different polarities. And the tension between polarities can lead to either separation or a creative force that make us more whole. And that's where we need to guide the energies, our energies first, and then the people that we are supporting as coaches. And so these four areas are, the divide with nature between, the first one on the left, between humans and, and nature itself. Then we have, the feminine and the masculine dimension, which is not just women and men, but it's qualities that are, it's a completely different concept. And in the current context we're living, I think this is a very critical distinction that we need to review and communicate. Then another critical dimension is outer inner, and I think that's been often really overlooked, because the outer is recognized and the inner dimension is often the one that needs more attention, more nurturing, more regeneration, given we are here for that. And then we have left and right brain, which again, need both to be integrated to fully express the brain geniality that we have, all the talents that we can have. So this journey of separation, again, we're going to look at the dimensions and some of the questions that were offered in the course itself, which are really helpful in terms of understanding and a bit more where we are in this journey. Because again, why are we doing this? Is because as practitioning, we need to first embody this distinction, and at least find a way to balance them in order to then guide other people in doing it. And also, I think I'd like to remind ourselves of the Otto Scharmer concept of the three level of divide. This divide between us and nature, which is exactly the dimension we are first looking at. Then is us from others, the self and others, and then is gosh, my brain
Self
went
and
blank.
self.
Thank you. Self and self, which I think is inner outer dimension. So I think it's a different way of looking at it, but it really helps. I think the concept of separation is something we don't speak enough in our day to day. And I think that expresses very, very well the discomfort that a lot of people are experiencing. And we look at that at the end of a session with the stress levels. So let's first look at the first dimension, which is between humans and nature. And let's look at some of the questions that were offered to look at that. And first of all, so let's remind ourselves of why we're doing all this, which is So we need to create an inner sustainability, an inner regeneration to be able to do this work. And I think another interesting connection is with the inner development goals, that I'm sure most of you know. Again, so there is a focus on going back to creating wholeness inside to be able to, resolve some of the separation we are creating in the outer world. And I think that's very, very relevant. And that's where coaches can have a big role. So thank you, Pauline. So these are some of the questions that were offered by Laura in the course, which we would like to remind ourselves of and spend a couple of minutes also to look at it personally. So, what implication does this separation have, between nature and ourselves to our mental and physical well-being? We all live, or most of us live, in cities and in offices and in houses where, we have little connection with nature. We need to make an effort to be able to have it. And some of us have, made choices that they can be in nature, but that's not the majority of us, I would assume. So this separation is physically playing in our day to day. How does that express itself in our well-being? And how do we see our view, this extractive view, express itself in the way we treat nature in our culture, in our societies? How much are we able to actually interconnect ourselves with nature and to be nurtured by nature and nurturing nature? And I've been really fascinated by discovering the living principle. How much do we see that playing in our day to day and in our world? And what's our level of understanding? And could that be useful to bring it more into our practice? So I would like to leave you a couple of minutes just to look at these four questions actually, and jot down any insights that come out of looking at the questions, and then we will use them at the end when we will have a breakout session. And of course, if anybody has some comments or anything, please, very happy for someone to share it if you want to. Thank you. I don't know if any of you wants to say something about it. That would be great. Even just one comment.
I've had a little insight, which kind of is almost embarrassingly simple, and it was provoked by the first question: implications. What implications does our separation to our natural habitat have on our mental and physical well-being? And for me, there's something about this polarity of feeling both insignificant in big nature, but also significant. But by the same token, when I'm disconnected from nature, I can feel insignificant and significant. So both of those things play out. If I'm in nature and connected, I can feel insignificant and significant, but it's in a good way. Whereas if I'm disconnected from nature, I can feel insignificant in I'm useless, I'm nothing. But also maybe quite more ego driven in a kind of like it's an unhealthy significant. And I haven't quite got my language right, but I thought, oh yeah, both insignificant and significant, but one's a healthy version of both of those, and one's an unhealthy version of both of those. So I thought I wanted to share that while it was fresh. I'll think about it. Yeah.
I love that. Can I just jump in here for a moment?
Please.
This morning I had a client in the park, and she was uncomfortable being in the park because it's a scary space for her. But grounding her within that space allowed us to connect the significance of being interconnected, and it shifted things for her. And so I just wanted to agree with you and connect it with the coaching of, because we're so disconnected, we're uncomfortable with it. But as soon as we're able to reconnect back, we have that insignificance, but interconnected. We are significant. She had to see and feel, how am I connected within the space? So thank you.
What a great idea, the coaching in nature. My insight with nature is it's really a way to getting out of the way. So and to really allow, insights and connectedness to come more forth when I'm in nature. So it's really powerful. Anybody else?
Emma, thank you for sharing that. That actually also reminded me of goodness, I know the guy. I don't know why now I can't. The guy, the scientist. I can't remember his name.
Early this morning.
Oh my God! I woke up with a terrible headache with just congested. Well, he was married to Lynn Margulis. What was his name? He's a very well-known astronomer and physicist and scientist. And anyway, it will come to me. Anyway, he has this very, very popular quote where he says, he talks about the solar system and all the planets and the suns in the system, and then you look at your little self, talking about instinct. For me, the first thought that comes to mind at that point when I'm watching all that, I'm like, I'm so insignificant. But then when we start learning about I don't even like the word honestly interconnected, because interconnected means that we're disconnected, and we're not disconnected. We're each an expression of the whole, just like, the wave is an expression of the ocean at that moment in time. This is how I see all living things, all living beings. So that reminds me that I am not, like as Emma said, I am not insignificant, because I am an expression of this whole. There is greatness about who I am. And that's where I feel so much power, because I'm not alone, But just to look at that first question, oh my God, the impact on mental and physical health is huge. It's huge. There was this quote, I think I shared it with the group by David Wyatt, the poet, where he says, I'm exhausted. He's asking, then this person tells him, it's when you're exhausted, you don't need rest. When you're exhausted, you're exhausted because you're looking at something from one little angle. But when you bring your whole heart, your whole self, and that also kind of reminded me of being an expression of the whole, that should fill me. I am exhausted now, so I'm trying to focus on being an expression of the whole to get more energy. But yeah, thank you, Emma. That was really a beautiful note to start with.
And let us also welcome Sonia and
Thank you.
Sonia, who's connecting
Ah,
now.
yes. Perfect. Thank you. Hello to
Hello.
everyone.
Yes.
What I feel about this area of reflection and the way of feeling this yes, this area is that at worst, I think that it's possible to have no consciousness about the separation between us and ourselves. And it leads to an unconscious inconfort that we can't explain. And I have a situation in my mind, a young woman, 30 years old, and she thinks, okay, I have an interesting job, which allows me to draw and live beautiful travels in that dreamy destination, but I don't feel so happy and I don't know why. And I think that it's an illustration about the disconnection. And when you don't know that it exists, it can lead to this kind of situation and loss of comfort. And okay, I feel lots of empathy about this situation. Maybe also because I had been this person some years ago, and now as a coach, I can see and hear this kind of story. I will not say every day, but almost. And I'm living in a big city, it's Paris, so lots of people can feel this way. And I wanted to share it with you. And it's really a pleasure, to feel a community, to express this, because personally, I feel a bit alone to feel this way. And yes, and to feel these situations. So thank you,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank
for
you,
opening
Sonia.
the space to share.
Thank you, Sonia. What a fitting example of the separation. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to the next dimension, Colleen? Perfect. So the second dimension is about, and this actually, it applies to several of these dimensions, but it's about inner and outer. And here, really, what Laura calls it superpower, it is really, merging the rational with all the rest of us, really, to get into a whole. So the left and the right brain, if you wish, but not just, because the emotional, it's, different realm and somatics about our body. Intuition, can be connected to nature also. So it's really the journey towards being whole. And with regard to the inner outer, I think this is they're all critical dimensions, but I think this is where we see a lot of separation, I think, because we're so focused on the performance. I think performance is such a key question here, key element. And that's how we also overlooked completely our spiritual dimension, which is being interconnected, but also is something that transcends our human condition. And attending to our inner dimension means attending to all the, the intuition, emotional, and your body sensation, to be able to operate outside in a way which is congruent and whole. So what, following what your inner self says to the outer self. So some of the questions here are, how traditional performance indicator of a good and successful life influences our decision or has influenced our decision. What values the most to you during the day in decision making, and give a sense of self, inner health and well-being, or outer success and material possessions. So what's the balance? And how much are you in tune with the inner guidance system and your embodied knowing? So also what your body is telling you about where to guide your attention. And the level of stress that this can create, I would add. So again, here is a couple of minutes to answer some of these questions and see what insights come out, and then we can share them in the group. Thank you. Would any of you would like to share? Finola.
Thank you. I think this is a constant, I feel it's a constant struggle and it's very present in me. It really feels like weaving in, and also how much am I actually just afraid of going more radical and weaving in, I just said when I started that I work at a business school, and yeah, it's been a lot of question of should I create something more like Schumacher College in another part of the world, or be like more radical, or is this also and then everything fitting in and being myself, offering possibilities to my children, and also making sure that they have the resources to feel part of the society, but also have the freedom to be themselves. Yeah, so to me this is just a daily thing, and I feel it because I also feel quite a lot of pain in my body. And of course, when I spend time at retreats, or then the pain goes away. So
Mm. So thank you.
Thank
Great. Mm. Yes, we are in transition time, aren't we? We're pioneers. It's always
Yes.
hard. Yes. And welcome, Sonia. I don't know if now you can hear us. You're trying to connect before.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone would like to connect, to share? Yes, Judith.
I saw kind of like a beautiful connection between the separation of human nature and the inner outer, because when I was reflecting on human nature, I came to the realization one of the things that I gained by being more connected to nature is to embrace the mystery. And there is something mysterious when you are in awe with nature, and when you are in nature, and when you are more connected to, I mean, and not just like, you know, in a big mountain or seeing the sunset, also like understanding that, oh, look, I have bacteria in my body and so on. So all these things, it brings me a lot in the awe moment and the wonder, and I cannot make sense of it with my rational mind. So I lean more into that mystery, the more connected to nature. And that's something that nurtures my connection to the inner, because the inner, as being like that, how Lara puts it, of the embodied knowing that I call the intuition, that's also very mysterious. You cannot make sense out of it. And yeah, I realize now how it's that connection, and I keep remembering on how I was, for example, before I burn out, which is something that I use a lot and I see a lot with people I speak to, and yeah, that was the main thing. It was like I was absolutely disconnected of my inner. And yeah, I could be in nature and I could feel something, but as I wasn't able to embrace it because it was mysterious and it was not rational, I was unable to then also nurture my intuition and nurture that connection to my inner, which is something that, of course, it has taken years of practice, but it has changed completely my way of understanding mental health and yeah, self and so on. So yeah, I saw just now this connection to that mystery that, yeah, we can embrace it because it exists, it's out there.
Thank you, Judith. I think it's a beautiful connection. I think what the insight I had is there's a lot of healing needed. There's a lot of pain. All the separation really creates a lot of pain. And it's hard to even, address it, to even face it. Even when you're successful, as Sonia's coachee. So that's again how I think, as coaches, we can really make a contribution. Thank you. Good. I'll pass it over to Colleen.
Thank you so much. And this has been very rich as we see the interconnectedness, because even while we're presenting this and we've separated it, I hope you can see that everything is interconnected anyway. And what we do naturally is we disconnect ourselves. And we were sharing that earlier. So about when we work in business, when we work within the corporate, we're within the machine, and many people and many of our clients, they have to separate themselves, and they feel they have to separate themselves from inner outer, from nature, from masculine feminine, from left and right brain, in order to be accepted within. And is it radical? That is the question I'm asking myself. As coaches, is it radical to bring our coaches back into the space of wholeness? Or is this right? Is it what we should be doing? So moving forward, just to remind ourselves, can everyone see that? Right. When we are, the story, the journey of reconnection and regeneration, if we look at the world right now, we're being pulled back to exploitation, to biodiversity loss, to climate system breakdown, to inequality, racism, it's protectionist. And we're almost shifting away from what is sustainable. But yet, as human beings, we yearn to be regenerated, nature's wisdom, living system, diversity, inclusion, restoring, coming back, aligning with nature. So just coming back to the slide, we're now going to just look at the feminine, masculine separation. In the beginning of time, well, not the beginning of time, the beginning of human beings, there was definitely a space of recognition of feminine, of birth, of respect for earth, respect for the feminine. But when there was a power dynamic, we then shifted and changed it, and it was seen as, rather than, wow, the feminine is incredible, to thank God I'm not a woman. And what does that mean? Of women do not have the capacity to hold space. It was less than 100 years ago that women had the vote, that women were able to be scientists or seen as scientists. And this separation really shifted the focus of who we are and the ability for us to reconnect to the wisdom of nature. It was seen as exploitation of the feminine, exploitation of nature. And we can look back when we look at industrialization, colonization, slavery. You can see with the Middle Ages where women were burnt at the stake for connecting with nature, with being seen as that. It was extractive. This is important as we look at the world today. And we look at businesses, we look at our clients, wherever we are coaching. And as coaches, the masculine is important. The competitiveness, assertiveness, protection, goal-oriented, rational thinking, independent, monotask. We need elements of that. But when we separate that from collaboration, being receptive, nurturing, relationship-oriented, intuitive feelings, interdependence, being able to multitask, these are what we need right now in the world. And people are recognizing that, but when things become uncomfortable, we go back to assertion, competitive, goal-oriented. And we see this in the world today. And I want you to just focus on for yourself right now. If you look at these qualities, and we look at communities that are successful, they have a combination of both of these qualities. we have had what separation brought is it brought the overpowering of one over the other. The questions that we're going to look at now is, and these questions are not just for us, but also questions we can bring to challenge our clients. What would our corporate culture look like if we had more balance between masculine and feminine? And I would add, then how would we? How can we bring that in? It's not just having more women at the table, but it is allowing ourselves, both as men and women, to get really in touch with those qualities. How is this dynamic showing up in our lives? And I'm going to extend that because we talked about the inner-outer separation, how if we are in corporate spaces, how is that showing up in our businesses, in our world, when we interact with family, community? And how would you go about life if you nurtured both qualities within you? So we're going to take just 2 minutes to reflect on this, and we'll have that discussion.
And we welcome Andreas. Welcome, Andreas. We are reviewing, the 4 levels of separation that Laura Storm presented in the second module.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome. And you arrived at the perfect time because we were talking about, we were very feminine in the space, and you have brought the diversity of the masculine into the space. So we'd love you to also contribute with these, with your views within the space.
Okay, let's see how much masculine I can unpack.
And I'm going to, because of time, I'm going to pause us here, and I invite you to share. Right, Janet, yeah.
Thank you. Many years ago, over 20, I think, I got offered a job with Microsoft. And I'm from the US on the East Coast, and Microsoft was on the West Coast. And I was waiting in a restaurant to take the midnight flight to go back. And I met a woman, and I was saying, oh, it's so all men there, I'm not sure. And we talked, and what I learned, and I've been saying since then, is I don't talk about masculine and feminine. In fact, I think it's so loaded, I avoid it. And what I learned from that woman in the restaurant was there are qualities that you could say are pink, like all the stuff on your right-hand side, collaboration, teamwork, empathy. And there are qualities that are blue, and that's getting things done.
I think, Janet, I think you're frozen. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think I agree. That is such an important thing. We live in such a binary world. Our brains are masculine and feminine. And before we even were born, we were feminine and then became more the masculine part. So it's perhaps for us to avoid being so binary. Right, yes.
Yeah, I would like to add a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, I completely struggle actually with this slide, and I got reactions from my students, and it's important because here I think we're around in the same generation in this group, but I'm discussing these aspects with human beings who are more in their 20s, and they said no. No, this is actually so loaded, as Jeanette was saying, and I have queer friends who absolutely do not want this labeling, and also we it antagonize. That's really how it feels. It's antagonizing again instead of feeling the whole. And because if I look at the list, and if I look at multitask under feminine, I'm like, no, please, let's stop with that. All this multitasking is burning us out, like deeply, seriously. I need to monotask a lot, yeah, and go back and rest and nature and yeah. So and what is rational? And I don't know what was on the other side. So yeah, it's these two columns and these things, it feels actually really old and yeah, that it's not helping. And it's such a difference between this and all the beautiful slides that are flowing and integrating in the whole. Yeah, so I think we could discuss that and bring a more integrated perspective to the qualities that human beings need to develop and even share with Laura for the course. Yeah, because everything keeps
Thank you.
improving.
Nadia, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I resonate with that a lot. I had a moment when you mentioned we are born with, and I feel that's probably the starting point where, as our nature, birth nature, when we are born, before being formatted, mechanized, industrialized, systemized, whatever, what or how, what life, what is that we came with, and probably there we're just gonna find a bouquet of things, and it's all the same, and it's nothing wrong, right? It's colorful. It's like a garden, and it is beautiful the way it is. And I think then maybe the separation is what happens for the disintegration, the destruction, the elimination, the tu vois, façonner, the format. That is something, but the rest is, I think, maybe return to life, to nature, return to home, return to. Then what is that? And
Oh, I love that.
then I think what comes to mind is healing now, but I hope that there will come a time where we don't need to heal anything because we will stay whole. So how do we co-create and fertilize soils that nurture wholeness and flourishing, rather than what we have unfortunately had to go through, which is a lot of disintegration, disconnection, and so on. So, and I pause
Thank
there.
you.
Thank
So
you.
relevant. Thank you very much. Andreas?
Wow, thank you, Nadia. I was more in the process of Gwenola's point, and I think this is something, thank you for bringing it up, Gwenola, this maybe this is something which irritated me, but without me recognizing it's irritating, this two sides, right? We are this polarity thing, because it's quite often we are in the mechanistic part and we need to get to the regenerative part and so on. So it's all this, yeah, bad, good thing, which doesn't help us. And it's the same with masculine and feminine. But yes, I'm masculine, but if we stop thinking when we are talking about masculine and feminine about men and women, but just to maybe get some categories, yeah, that's typically, this is a part which we need, and this is another part which we need. It's fine, categorizing helps sometimes, but it's not helping to, let's say, to give it to a gender, to use the gender topic on that. So maybe it's more, what are capabilities we need, what are things we need to take decisions, we need to move on, we need to have the target in mind where we want to go, and we need to integrate people, we need to be open, we need to collaborate, we need to cooperate, and we need to love others, kind of, and want them to contribute. And if that's what is feminine, what is masculine, well, whatever, you can call it pink and blue, but pink and blue, let's say 2 centuries ago, was the opposite, right? It was, pink was the color of men and blue was the color of women. So it's not, and we think, oh yeah, that is like yeah, with a PR which we get, we think, oh, that's like that, and no, it isn't. We can, and that's basically the good thing, we can decide what meaning we want to give to words and what meaning we want to give to things, that we can take it away as well. It takes a bit longer, but yeah.
Thank you so much. It almost comes back to coding. It's language has coding, and we can learn so much from the Gen Z generation, who are reclaiming words and the queer space of reclaiming, like, what does it mean to be human? I'm just wondering, what I'm hearing is, as coaches, we meet people where they're at, right? So if somebody is hurting and has been really harmed by the story of separation, being able to hold our own discomfort of masculine, feminine, but being able to speak the code for them to be able to unpack it. And I'm going to bring it out of that space to almost to race, of whiteness and blackness, right? People say, oh, but I'm uncomfortable. But for someone who has been in the story of separation for so long, because of whiteness overpowering blackness, it is real. And are we able to hold clients who have been in pain because of that? Letting go our own discomfort of, oh, can we just all be friends? Can we all just be okay? I had power in the space, and my whiteness, the whole system is created for this. And that's in a similar way. The masculine, feminine is, the world right now is masculine. It is created that way. The story of separation is that that's where the power is, whereas the feminine has been attacked, has been shifted. You see the reaction in the state for trans people. And that's exactly what we're talking about, in a way of, like, what does it mean that this is someone's reality of integrating masculine, feminine, of who they are, their identity, going gender, because gender is different. So this is nuanced, and we could have a whole space. We could have a whole 2-3 hours in that. So I'm going to bring it back to, as clients, where are they within that? And are we able as coaches to hold them wherever they are? If they're an older generation and more binary, younger generation, more fluid within that, if they a story of pain within that, or are they bridging that and just wanting to recode? Just pause for a moment and just reflect as a coach. Reflect for yourself. Are you able to hold that space for someone? Are you able to hold the coding of someone and introduce a new way of looking to assist them to shift. So now I'm going to shift to look at, because it's, as I said right in the beginning, it's all interconnected. Our brains are not just the masculine, feminine of having the different qualities which we have agreed we all need, but it's also our brains have the right and left. We've got survival. We've got the strategy brain. We don't even use a lot of our brain, right? But many people are stuck in that survival part. When we look at this, our educational system, our societal system, our political system is really trains and values the rational, analytical left brain hemisphere. But our intuition is based in our right. And that was that slide earlier of interconnecting the two, of how do we come to one? How do we come to one? And I think I'm holding the space here of going, we all here are on that journey of shifting to see the wholeness. And many people that we are coaching are trying to navigate between the two, being brought up, you versus me, looking at linear analysis, causal, especially in the workspace, especially in the corporate space, competition as almost masculine space, overly self-confident, whereas the right hemisphere is relational, wholeness, creativity, compassion, and empathy. We can also look at this and separate it in the neuroscience space of survival versus prefrontal cortex, or of strategy brain, of being able to be creative, compassionate. You cannot do that if you're in the survival brain. So left and right brain separation. Let's look at that deeper. And we're not going to take much time here because we want to honor your time. But as I'm speaking, perhaps just see what comes to you. Are we valuing and nourishing our right brain hemisphere as much as our left brain? Are our clients doing that? And if they're not, how are we coaching that? Are we valuing right brain hemisphere qualities in our children, our colleagues, our employees? Or are we just saying that? If you're in that business space, are we just using words or HR of wellness? But actually, when it comes down to it, we want the result. Are you creating the conditions for right brain hemisphere qualities to thrive? And perhaps let's just look at, why don't you put it in the chat very quickly, of left brain, right brain. What is on your mind right now? Place it, I invite you to place it in the chat. And I have loved up until this point how people have brought in their experiences with different generations, and how we can actually challenge these things now, because we live in such a polarized world. Albert Einstein has said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. But we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So how can we get back that gift? Thank you for your comments. Yes, so Emma,
Mm.
being able to play with the music in between meetings allows you to get in touch with that. Sonia, yeah, you're right. We are so fixated in education by assessing the process and not just the product. I think I've got that wrong. We're constantly reflecting on assessing the process and not just the product. I wonder how in education, how we can shift that, how we can actually allow for the younger generations who have free thought, and then as they get placed in companies, in organizations, we immediately start isolating and try and teach them to think like the machine again. What if we are authentically able to honor our one and whole brain? I love that. And it'll take more time and pauses to let the right brain get active. And are we allowing ourselves those pauses? I try to nudge myself that as I remain intentional, I pay attention to everything that meets my senses. I remain curious and explorative, and I can balance right and left brain. Thank you. Yeah, being mostly in the right brain is not an easy space either. And I think that's where the integration comes in, because when we talk to others as well, mainly that's also very left brain. Okay. Scientifically, this myth of the brain divide has been debunked. Both brains work together and need to build more synapses. That it's in the book and the slides because there's no such divide in our brain. I need to bridge more together. The reality is that it is much more integrated. Absolutely. And the more we get to, the more that we actually learn about neuroscience, the more we can actually see that everything is integrated. And when this book was written, remember, it was a time where it was very binary. We are rapidly shifting, and I love that. And perhaps within a year, we can see more. And that, as coaches, how are we offering that space? If we are in the space of business school, how are we shifting and challenging that? Right, I'm going to just move on quickly. And I'm going to thank you and hand over to Sylvia to continue. Thank you for all your thoughts and sharing in that. Sylvia?
Yes. So where does all this leave us to having all the level of stress we experience and we see in the different realm of our life, the outer world, our mind, body, and soul alignments, and the ecosystem natures, and all the crises that we are experiencing in that sense. And if you can go to the next slide, I think that really explains, this is actually taken from the Laura explaining it. I think, again, as coaches, this is a great level of awareness to have to understand where our clients are. And, they're all interconnected, of course, we all know that. And being aware of it and being aware of the causes of it and how they affect each other, it's really critical to then be able to tap into, okay, so what can the individual or the group or the organization do in order to make a positive change, to have a positive impact, and to link things together, because that's, I think, what the awareness of how things are interlinked is critical. Because, for instance, in my practice, I see a lot of burnout, much more than in the past, but it's often left to the individuals to handle it. Okay, this is your problem. I'm sure you have your your issues that led you to where you are. Whereas the context and being able also to understand some of this interconnectedness and this cause effect is really critical to then look out and see where I could make a significant change. So again, let's be aware of the story separation. Let's be able to speak about it as coaches. And let's be able to take some of our clients by hand and say, okay, maybe some of what is showing up in your life is due to the fact that there is a tension, a separation, a polarity that is creating you a lot of negative consequences or unwanted consequences. So to wrap up everything, we would like to offer 4 questions that will require much more time, we know, but we didn't want to, we wanted to get an inspirational and thought-provoking session that maybe we can take on more time on at a different stage. So all this journey of separation really is also a journey of reconnection and reclaiming wholeness, as Laura nicely put it. And this is what, we could really make a difference as coaches, because we help people reconnect with themselves, with the context, and reclaim, their whole self to be able to express their talents and fulfill the vision and their potential. So this offers a beautiful framework and also tools to be able to be more powerful as coaches, as regenerative coaches. So the questions for us are, so how can we integrate this into coaching practices? How can we embody this? Because as we all know, unless we do it first, it's very difficult to then help others do it. And any insights and actions that we can take away from today, personally, or for us as a group, or any other levels of insights and actions. We would have loved to do breakout rooms, but I think given the time, can we still?
We could do it 2 minutes if everybody is okay to have 2 minutes of just looking at that, and then we can come back and have a quick discussion. Are we okay with it?
In breakout rooms or?
Yes, breakout rooms. Okay.
Breakout rooms. Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. Was that very helpful? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for reminding me again that even a 2-minute breakout is worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Does everyone want to share something very quickly that you found that was helpful, or perhaps what you want to take away from the session? There's something that you have really that has sparked something. Yeah, someone.
My takeaway would be, we were just discussing it, Nadia and I. For me, it's really honoring the pain of separation, giving the space and the time and the presence to honor it for ourselves and for our loved ones and our clients.
Thank you.
Yeah, something similar emerged between the two of us, and is being active in me is how to be in myself and stay present, and while creating space for what emerge. But yeah, really stay present and mindful, and not enter into any mechanism mode of saving or creating intervention. Yeah, but observing. Yeah, and in the observation there is so much healing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can add something, just that I feel lots of gratitude to be with all of you this morning and to feel the connectiveness of hearts, of souls, of the way we want to contribute to the world. And okay, I'm totally full of this. So thank you so much, because yes, I feel lots of love and joy, and to begin this week, it's perfect. So really, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your contribution and being here. Anyone else?
I was following on the conversation that we were having with Ganona. There was this coming to my mind, that this pain that the separation inflicts on us, it really is the root cause of the generation that we are living in our societies today. And yeah, your client may come with anxiety, burnout, problems with colleagues, and this and that, and 1,000 other things. And we are able to see like really that root, and we are able to tap into that deeper level. And yeah, by not rushing into the fixing mindset of, oh yeah, anxiety, go and meditate, and that's it. And it's just like, like, there are many other things down there. But it's interesting how also it's such a deep work that touches on so, ingrained, embedded, and how our brains are wired, that it's very difficult as well to say that you are gonna do this. I mean, I don't announce things as, let's make peace between your masculine and feminine qualities, because people will be like, fuck are you talking about? So yeah, it's quite interesting how this is the work that we are doing, but we don't say it. It's kind of like, yeah, like our hidden agenda. So yeah, I keep thinking how regeneration is such a hidden agenda for the work that we are doing at that surface level.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And that's what with this group is, how are we defining regenerative coaching? And for right now, it's almost weaving. We're weaving in all these elements that our clients don't see the background, but we're challenging them in it.
And at the same time is what will happen if we were more explicit. I think there is, that space is there for us, I think, to be more bold.
I'd be happy. Sorry. I'd be happy to hold a session on that, because I've been working more and more on that, and even in executive teaching at a business school and in bachelor and master. So you can imagine how it's a journey. So yeah, happy to really hold.
That would be lovely, because it takes courage. So thank you. We look forward to that one. Nadia.
Yeah, and also we can.
Yes.
That'd be good.
Together we're stronger. That's the whole point.
Always, yes.
Right. So Nadia?
There was something about to be more. So when Sylvia said explicit, it went to my rational brain, analytical brain. So what we push, I think maybe go into the how, the processual of the journey. Like we went through, all of us, how many years of work? And let's call it something more beautiful than work, please. A journey of healing and covering and learning, relearning, of life in. So much we have experienced together. It has never been a solo thing. We might think that it's been just inner, but in these beautiful circles that we hold, we learn and we are with ourselves, we recognize some things that are in us. So the explicit that comes to mind is how much we allow people to recognize what's in them and what's around them. So it's a matter of like, oh my God, I had the red pen here all the time and I didn't see it. How is that possible? So that's the invitation in a way. One of it, at least. One possible.
I love that.
So we were drawing to a close, and thanks for holding the 1.5 hour. I think we needed it, so it was beautiful actually the way it pans out. One word for each of you to take away for the day, for the week, given we start at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. How would you like your week to be? Or, what you're taking away from today? And I can start. For me, it was really nurturing day. Thanks for all. Yeah, not being alone, being together. Beautiful. Thank you.
I'll say nourished, a nourishing way to start the week. Thank you all very much indeed.
I would say joy of being here with all of you.
Inspired. Thank you so much.
I would say gratitude of everyone's contribution and for being able to be here with you.
For me, it's integration, also this group, but overall, this thinking of integration.
Yeah, for me, it's the beauty of compassion. You all have compassionate hearts, and it's so beautiful to be in your presence. So thank you.
For me, it's life and aliveness. Thank you.
And for me, I feel that I'm speaking for 3 people at the moment. I say thank you for myself because this helps me personally a lot. Thank you for a client that it felt like, I can use these things with her. And thank you also for the current journey travelers, because this week we are holding a space for the story of separation with Laura. And yet this has helped a lot also for me to start getting ready for that. So thank you on behalf of all these people.
Good, you did. Okay. I'd like to thank Colleen too, because she's been wonderful working together. So integration, yes.
And thank you
Yes.
to you.
Yes.
Together, we've co-created an amazing weaving space. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you. Yes.